So this week, an incredible story emerged about a woman in Melbourne who had been impersonating the Home and Away actor Lincoln Lewis for many, many years and had catfished, which is the term when you impersonate somebody, had catfished at least 2 women with some pretty devastating results. And it sparked a pretty big conversation about the process of catfishing, what it involves, the legality around it, and how you can avoid it as well. So to debate that, we have Tegan Jones from Gizmodo and we have Ray Johnston from Junkee. Ray, I didn't realise actually how widespread this was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the reasons why people can kind of get away with this for as long as they do is that catfishing itself isn't a crime.
Yeah.
It's all of the peripheral things that you're doing that make it a crime. So fraud's a crime.
Yep.
So that's illegal, obviously. There has to be deception and dishonesty. There has to be evidence that the person doing the catfishing is receiving some type of financial benefit or causing a disadvantage to the person that they are catfishing. It has to be proven to be intentional and reckless, which there's all sorts of defences for. Or in the case, there have been a couple of cases where it's been used to engage in sexual activity with the people that have been catfished. Also, it can be, against the terms of use of the specific sites.
Oh, of the social media platforms.
So of the
like
social media platforms, if you're impersonating someone, I know that you can report profiles for impersonating you. So unless that happens, unless all of this is exposed, it can kind of fly under the radar. And a lot of people will engage in catfishing in completely benign ways. They don't actually intend to ever get anything out of anyone. They just want to reach out and talk to people, or they want to develop relationships with people. That's, I am quite obsessed with the MTV series Catfish as well. And you do see so many cases of that. It's people that are lonely reaching out to other people that are lonely and engaging in these relationships in order to have that human connection.
It's been so interesting to see just the huge influx of people writing into the ABC about their experiences with catfishing, and it's really, really, really uncomfortable. But you guys at Junkee, you've done some reporting on this stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because we were looking into actually identity theft of people as well, because there's another side to this. Yeah, you've got the person that's being catfished, but then you've got the person whose identity has been taken over in order to reach out and contact people.
And there really wasn't a lot on that as well. That's something I was really interested in hearing more about, like what happens from Lewis's perspective as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that we've reported on at Junkee recently, Jared Richards, one of our main music writers, he uncovered a fake music producer. So the real music producer is Donataci, and there was a fake one called Danataci. Right.
I mean, that's not even trying. Come on.
It's not even trying, and it's not even trying intentionally. But the faker had set up a totally different online social media presence using totally different images that turned out to be from a model in LA, ripped and re-uploaded music from not only the real Donataci, but also some other musicians in Australia as well, relatively unknown ones, and proceeded to make an income from the music that they had uploaded to things like SoundCloud and Bandcamp, and to the point where music promoters actually got in contact with the real Donataci and was like, oh, we're promoting this at this point, and they're like, no, what are you even talking about? And it turns out that this is something that's quite prolific.
It's funny, I might chuck a question to you guys that I chucked to James earlier, which is, does it change the way you think about how your face lives on the internet?
I don't think anyone really ever expects that their identity is going to be used to catfish someone, and I think that that's one of the psychological things at play here. Oh, look, I'm sure a few people have that sense of self-importance that they think that they would be ripped off, or they're a public enough figure to think that that sort of thing is a risk, like the episode where that person believed that they were in a relationship with Katy Perry, for example.
That was hilarious.
The three of us aren't Katy Perry. The regular listener
we could be. We haven't tried.
But the regular download the show listener is not Katy Perry. So we're actually more likely to be someone whose identity is stolen for the purposes of these sorts of things.
Like, they're basic tips of what you could do to sort of suss out if you're being catfished?
Yeah, absolutely. The top tip is if the profile pic resembles a modelling shot or a Photoshop job, and this is actually super good tip. pop it into Google image search and see if it comes up anywhere else on any other site under any other name. And that's how you'll generally catch out the ones that, aren't impersonating a famous celebrity. If their story appears overly dramatic or too good to be true, I'm not saying mistrust the general, population of the world.
Queens anyway,
but mistrust the general population of the world. If your relationship becomes extremely serious extremely quickly, that's always a bit of a red flag. I mean, I've been known to move in with people a couple of weeks after meeting them, but I've met them in real life. If they request personal favours or loans of money, if there's ever any money asking to be exchanged, that's a huge red flag as well. Even if they want to send you money, that's also a weird way that they get gain your trust. And if they rarely mention their social life, if they are not doing anything else, if they're not talking about any of their other friends or their work or basically having a real life, if they're not talking about anything in their real life other than how much you mean to them, chances are you're being catfished.
There is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. We talk to the writer of that original catfish story, and we're also talking about electric cars, which it turns out quite controversial in this country. Who knew? It's all on the podcast of Download This Show, and it is ready and waiting for you.